Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are Consciousness Incorporated, where consciousness and business are incorporated. My name is Adam Vasquez, and I'm joined by my glorious co-host,
Denise Kohnke.
Great to have you, Denise, as usual. This is going to be an exciting topic, as usual. We will be pushing the limits. And, for those who are joining us the first time, this format is raw. It is unfiltered. It is in the flow. So we have a topic or a few topics around an idea or a theme each week. And we just go with the flow and where the universe is going to take the discussion, knowing that the universe is perfect. And so we're just going to follow it and naturally let it progress.
Yeah, we have a high bar too, especially this week. We have a very high bar.
Yeah, so
we're going to jump over it. It's going to be great. Sorry.
You'll get some every week. You kind of get a little bit under the cover sort of under idea of how Denise and I think and how we discuss stuff, and honestly, this is how we interact all the time. So there is really this is authentic. You're getting our two authentic selves, and Denise will jump in and talk about the topic, but before that, why don't you give us a recap from the last episode?
Oh, that's right. It was Sunday Scaries, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And
did you have Sunday Scaries this Sunday?
No, I did not. I did not. I had Sunday excitement.
I did too.
Yeah. So, Sunday Scaries is oh my God, I got to go to work. It's tomorrow. I was having such a lovely Friday night, Saturday, Sunday morning, and now it's back to the grind. And I actually listened to it this week, which I don't always do. And we gave out a lot of really good information about how to overcome that. I thought it was quite motivating if you had, if you were in that boat and you heard it. It's like, okay, I can do this. I can have the scaries gone in 8 weeks. I can do this. So it was pretty fun. I was very proud of us for being amateur psychologists. We did a very good job.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a question. We're not clinical on that side, but we have a lot of experience working on ourselves and trying to help others, and have had a lot of success in it too, right? So
right, we're practitioners of common sense and what works.
Yep.
Not necessarily theory, and even though we got plenty of theory, we are also practitioners of experience, and that's what you get when you work for a really long time and have a lot of staff and work with people in corporations and in businesses, because people management is tough. You got to be a mom and a dad and a psychologist and a cheerleader and all those things wrapped up in one
practitioner. And so those who were listening last week and are joining us right now, Sunday Scaries, I would just add to what Denise is saying. It really comes down to overcoming fears and realizing that fears really are false evidence appearing real. And they come up. It's a continuous process. It's like weeding a garden. You're always going to have to weed. So, and you get better at it and better at it and better at it, and you'll get less weeds that will pop up. But you will have to weed because, unfortunately, it is a feature. Fear is a feature of this reality that we have in ourselves.
Yeah. So. And I have another metaphor for that. Since you said garden and weeding, which is absolutely like 100%. It's like when a flower is having trouble, you look at the ground and you change the ground. You don't change the flower. The problem is not in the flower. You're the flower. The problem is in the ground that you're growing in.
Right.
So just to build on that weed thing.
Yeah.
Again, we don't talk about this before, so.
Well, I mean, it's like we're going to talk about business models today, and we're going to talk about new models for goodness, right?
Oh, we are changing the game today, and we are doing something here in front of you that I'm going to go out there on a limb because I've never heard of anyone ever doing this. We're going to solve a problem right in front of you. This is kind of what we do. This is the level that we play, and we're going to solve a major problem. Think of the biggest problem in the world, which is we're going to solve climate change right in front of you today. That's a big throwdown, don't you think? But we're going to do it right in front of you.
And we might also make a lot of people wealthy in the process too. So
absolutely. And you know what happens? We fix the economy while we're doing it.
Yep. Because everything is connected, right? I mean, you think of it as an ecosystem, and natural ecosystem in nature, trees, the birds, the bees, the pollination, all of that. It's all connected. And so why would it be any different with the economy, the environment, ourselves? I mean, we're right in the middle of this, and the irony of it all, right, is our thoughts create the reality around us, and so in our actions. So maybe it's time we think about things differently, and those limiting beliefs of like you can't be green and make money at the same time, or you can't do good and make money, or
this action is a drop in the hat. How can I even have impact?
Right.
Well, it's true that if I don't know, you have a campfire, you're putting carbon it's like, do I not have a campfire? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a containment strategy to try to conserve, to change the climate crisis. We're not talking about containment. We're talking about the exact opposite, which is monetization. Mm-hmm. So when you think about capitalism is monetization. And people think that, conscious or karmic capitalism is just someone giving something away to charity. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about an actual monetization model for goodness that the United States, every person in it can participate in, and then we, the US consumer, take it on. We're going to reverse climate change. It's us. We're not waiting for anybody else.
And Denise, isn't that the case with anything? Like, I feel like in society today, we're looking for somebody, some big organization, the government, somebody else to solve our problems, right?
For sure.
And it's just that's just never been that way. And it shouldn't be that way ever. Now, I think there's collaboration. There's helping each other for sure. But if anybody is waiting for a politician or a CEO or the Dalai Lama to come in and solve their problems,
forget about it.
Then you really don't understand consciousness and karmic capitalism, right? Because and it is all about accountability and responsibility and taking action, personal action, and being accountable to your own higher self, right?
Mm-hmm. I am so excited about what we're doing today that I'm putting it out in the universe that this will happen. This is actually going to happen. All the milestones of this idea will happen, and it will help the climate mathematics, because the mathematics are not good.
Yeah. Well, the compounding of it all, right? I mean, so can we reverse it? A lot of environmental scientists will say no. One interesting topic the other day, I was watching some interviews with some very astute and credible environmental, the people that study the globe. What is the globe? What is Earth going to be doing?
Right.
Talking about global warming, and one of the questions was, when will Florida be underwater? And it's not if, it's a matter of when at this point. And there's two things. There are natural cycles to to the earth. It gets warmer. It does warm up.
Yeah.
It does cool off.
Yeah.
These are natural cycles,
Yeah.
but we have definitely been making it more as a group of, human beings. Right. And, but it doesn't mean, right. Even though we talked about a drop in reincarnation, there's still reincarnation. So that's good at a soul level. And another side of the veil, we know this place is going to still be up, right? Because we wouldn't be putting ourselves back in here. And we need this as this is our house. Like, so if you think about, right, Earth, just in a new way, if you think about it as, it's our home for a physical body, but this is our school. This is our education learning ground. This is how we learn on a soul level and a consciousness level. So without I call it a platform, like Earth is almost like a game platform. There is no game.
Yeah.
Right?
We won't have a game for the rest of eternity.
Right. Well, we'll go to other planets, but we all like Earth. So we keep coming back here. I know for a fact I've been here multiple times, and I'm sure Denise has been too. So like, let's put a little focus on a sustainable model, a business model. And as karmic capitalists, we want our environment to keep producing, opportunities for growth for ourselves and others. So at a soul level. So we got to protect it. We have to protect it.
We are ancestors. You,
exactly.
Everyone listening is an ancestor. And if you start thinking like an ancestor on what you can do to impact the future, this is it. Now, I know.
Real quickly to that, we are ancestors impacting the future, but we were actual incarnated as ancestors in the past, right? So technically, we are the past and the future, and so in many ways. So in many ways, Denise, like even if you're service to self. Right. We talk about that. Even, we're service to others, but even if you are service to self, you want the earth, the planet Earth to exist because you are actually hurting your future self, especially when you come back to this planet. Right now, I love Florida. I love the Isla Morada is one of my favorite places on this planet down in the Florida Keys. But is it going to be underwater in 300 years? Some scientists say yes. I hope not, because I would really like to keep going there, but maybe we are past that point. But that doesn't mean we can't protect it for other areas and for the future, right?
Well, one of the things that made this fire hose happen while I was brushing my teeth one day, running for a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen to write down the information because it was coming so fast. Okay, this happens a lot. Was I saw
so Denise was getting a universe download, and she's trying to keep up with consciousness, just giving her the full download.
It was like I was a clown running around, and Charlie Chaplin's looking for a pen. What's a pen? Do we have pens anymore? But the headline in the Washington Post was, "We have 9 years." Basically, that was the headline. And
by the way, thanks media for trying to scare us. That never happens, right?
And well, the New York Times actually has published a whole section just after that. I saw that, and it's like, we have less than 9 years. So depending upon what news outlet you prefer to listen to, it ain't a lot of time. It's a countdown. And this is all on climate math.
And it is interesting for those who study the densities. A third density. I'm not saying that this is the only reason. I think we have definitely accelerated the warm up process. And this is actually some environmental scientists are actually afraid of, is not the warming, it's the colding effect that will follow, meaning an ice age that will follow, because the planet will protect itself, right? And so I don't know where I was going with this, but other than the fact that it is, if we have 300 years or we have 6 years or 9 years, the fourth density does heat up the planet. It does get warmer moving into the densities. That is what, based on, these interviews and these channeled readings and these books that are like Book of Ra. And cycles are natural. So I just want to say that cycles are natural, but we are accelerating things as a species. And your aha moment is really exciting for us to talk about. How do we do this at a business level? Really, at a consumer level, right?
Yes. So we talked about why in past episodes, to ask yourself why 20 times to get to the end, and then look at those answers as milestones to where you want to go. And then we talked about what if, to start with what if, which is the end, and then work backwards to make what if happen. This is a what if day. So we're going to talk about what if. And what if is, I like metaphors, I like to do that. Sorry. I mix them up too in the same sentence, like maybe 3 of them. But this is like, which is a simile. This is like if we have all the pieces of a puzzle on our table, many pieces. We don't have the box though to look at the picture, but we do know that it is the Mona Lisa. Okay, go. Most of us kind of know what the Mona Lisa is like, but we don't, unless you're, geeky freaky on art history, you don't. So, all right, we've got to make.
Which Denise and I are, by the way, art historian geeks. So formally trained and educated in that.
Yeah, I know. And we have that problem with other history, like military history too. But so, all right, we're gonna make the Mona Lisa. How are we going to do this? All these little puzzle pieces are pieces of data. Think of them as pieces of data. I'm gonna talk about a few pieces here. So remember them. Data point number 1. All right, from the and listen as you're listening. Think about the number and either billions or trillions.
Now you had some information. Should I pull that up now or wait?
Yeah, we could pull it up so people can follow along if they're watching by.
Okay.
Oh, am I frozen?
No, you're good. You're good, Denise. So fact number 1, Washington Post.
Washington Post, 9 years to pull it away from the tipping point of no return to anything that resembles what the Earth was in the last couple millennia. Item 2, data point 2. The U.S. government is currently budgeted for $45 billion for 2023, not this year, but the next year, for climate change related funding. And
now, does that include tax credits and other things and
I don't know. It's
stimulus for businesses?
It's just the budget.
Okay. Yeah. So that could be some taxes, some stimulus. It could be, but it could be mostly investments, direct investments in infrastructure.
Right. It's $45 billion. That, by the way, is 60% more than what was budgeted in 2021. So from private money, we're going to call that venture capital investment. Here's a stat. From the last half of 2020 to the first half of 2021, that's like a year, venture capital invested $90 billion with a B in climate change related company investments. Okay, so we've got like this 90 billion, this 45 billion. I mean, venture capital did more than the US government. Okay, that shows you that capitalism here is important and we have to make sure it's done right. But let's talk about US disaster relief. That's projected soon to hit $2 trillion a year. So any investments that we make are really hedges against what is coming, which is another 20 hurricanes and drought and floods and all that terrible stuff, which if you look back at that, who makes it right? That's
Well,
unheard
in Denise, it's like in medical insurance, right? It's like
of.
how like insurance usually in the past, it's changing now a little bit better from a health insurance being more, proactive insurance like health checkups, things like
Yeah.
this. But for a long time, you only were able to use your health insurance when you were sick
Mhm.
versus actually trying to do things so you didn't have to use your insurance. Right now, it's changing, and it's changing very rapidly. But that's a perfect example about we're spending trillions of dollars
Fixing.
in fixing the problem without solving the root cause. It's a
Yes,
band-aid at best, right?
at best. And
And it's not even a band-aid because you're talking about
no, it's
thousands, hundreds of
decimation.
thousands, millions of people suffering because of this, right?
Fort Myers is gone. It's decimation
Yeah.
of Northern California. This is decimation that we're talking about, and real people who have lost everything. Now, you could say, oh, real people lost everything. Too bad it's not me. But those real people who lost everything have to go somewhere. They have to migrate. They have to find new places and begin with nothing. Does that sound like some of the tragedies that we don't want to hear about, in like the Sudan and Pakistan, and even in our own North America, because they're at our borders? These are all people who are migrating because of environmental problems where they can't literally live where they are, or social problems, which actually come also from environmental problems, because when you have scarcity of food and
Yeah,
limited ingredients
resources, right?
and resources, then you get marauders who come and they say, we're going to control that, and we will kill all your children unless you give them to us, because we're going to teach them how to be marauders.
Yeah.
That's what we are dealing with. This is all connected. So it's not just disaster relief. Carry it forward to what it means for migration and what it means for millions of people. All right. Here's another data point. The US consumer, now this is where it's starting to get interesting, because all of those are like, too big, can't relate. Oh my God, I have no control. Why are you telling me this? The US consumer spends $10.6 billion on Halloween. That's just us putting up, ghosts and going to, and big skeletons that we get at Home Depot. And 69% of Americans over 18 plus participate in Halloween and celebrate it. That's a lot of collective money. That's $1 billion, not $1 million. That's $1 billion. If you want to talk about another holiday, which is a kind of, oh my God, this is not an A-list holiday. This is a C-list holiday, if you even call it a holiday at all. 5.6
Oh, it's a
billion.
great drinking holiday. Come
It's a
on.
drinking holiday, but keep that point in mind.
You take that away, beer sales are going to go down, are going to drop.
Yeah,
Come
but
on.
I mean, truly capture that that thought, and don't forget it. It's a beer holiday. $5.8 billion is spent on St. Patrick's Day, with adults spending $42.33 per person. Now, crazy statistic.
Now, I will say this though, right? For those Irish pubs, and there are a few that I really enjoy. It could impact if you say everyone stopped spending on St. Patrick's Day, right?
Nope, I'm
But,
not
but
saying they should stop. I am actually saying they need to add a day or a couple of days. This
okay.
is not a containment strategy. This is not, we're going to take Halloween away from you. This is not anything like that at all. We're going to add something to it.
Well, and that's an important point, right? We talk about karmic values and what we're talking about, thinking that, oh, if we do this, we are taking away from these restaurants, would be a scarcity thinking mindset,
Yes.
wouldn't it?
Yes, it's not taking away from anybody for anything. This is adding more. Like if you had let's just call it another holiday that had stuff associated around it with regards to drinking or decorating or whatever. Let's say we add another holiday, but the holiday is actually a revenue generator for what we're going to call an E Corp. Now,
could real quickly, I mean, top of mind, first thing that comes to mind is Earth Day. Could we do something around Earth Day?
we could, but Earth Day is ignored. It has become an informational holiday. There is nothing to monetize on Earth Day. Nobody monetizes anything. It becomes a acknowledgement day.
Yeah.
Maybe
plant a couple trees, maybe go to a free concert or something.
Minimal. It is nothing. It's not even a blip. I mean, really, when we get real, it's where the museums, the biologic museums do programming. I mean, it's a nothing day. It is no St. Patrick's Day. And
no, definitely not.
And it is no Halloween.
Well, maybe we just need to add drinking to Earth Day.
Okay. Maybe we're starting to.
Okay, we'll jump into that in a second. So keep going with these numbers. These statistics are very interesting.
We have like $43 a person for St. Patrick's Day, and all of that is because people feel like they're having fun. This is something for me. This is I don't want to call it service to self and go that far, because there's a lot of people who participate.
Oh yeah, and you should take care of yourself.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, that's
it's fun.
Nothing wrong with taking care of yourself and respecting yourself and
absolutely.
all of that stuff. That's
and
important,
meeting with other people. And I'm not saying any of these days are wrong. I am, in fact, using them as a proof of concept for what if. And this is just, remember this because I think it's a low number, super conservative. What if, now we have like 70% participation in Halloween here. What if 300 million adults, and that's conservative because I think there are more. So we're cutting out the really old people. And these are 18 plus. 300 million adults spend $10 a year on the earth. Do you know how much money that is?
Well, I'm looking at the slide, but you said for those who can't read it because they're listening.
It's $3 trillion.
Yeah.
Amazing. Remember that thought. It's $10, but nothing free. If you ask somebody for $10, you won't get it.
Well, and this is something we've talked about in the past. I guess one of the key reasons is, as much as we like to say, oh, everything's environmental, everything is moving to green, it's very fragmented, isn't it? So it's like, if I had $10, I wouldn't even know where to go with it to impact global climate change. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of places, there's, depending on your political spectrum, there's Greenpeace. You could spend it with Patagonia. You could do a lot of stuff. The Sierra Club. There's a lot of places you could put it. Nature conservatory, like that kind of stuff. But
I'm not going to say that doesn't work, but it's not focused.
Right.
And
and let's be honest, those organizations have become very politicized.
Yeah, and most of them are about protection as opposed to, and that to me, protection to me is like containment. They're not about an aggressive forward. They're about protecting. They're not about fixing a problem. And you mentioned Patagonia, and that Patagonia, I mean, they just changed into kind of a foundation nonprofit, but they were a for-profit company that just said the only board member we have is Earth, and all our money, and they did it.
I love that, by the way.
All their money went to the earth and earth-related causes, all of it. And it supported any one of their employees up to and including we'll bail you out of jail if you're protesting for Greenpeace, and we'll bail you out of jail. Don't worry, we'll take our money and do that. So what has happened from that? And I don't know if this is causation or correlation or what, but a lot of the statistics for millennials now, and millennials are getting older, Gen Z, kind of older Gen Z too, is that, and we did some research for a client on this, is that they think that when they make a purchase to an organization, like when they buy something from Patagonia, they think they're making a donation. And they count it in their heads as charity because they're supporting a certain kind of company. Okay, hold that thought. Hold that thought. Now, let's go back to a term that I don't know if you all know or not, but we can talk to you about what this is. It's called B Corp. And there are lots of companies who work really hard to get the B Corp insignia. And it's basically a logo that you can put on your website. That's kind of what it is. But a B Corp goes through many steps and is reviewed for compliance of those things. And they kind of created what is called ESG, which is environmental, that's the E, sustainability, that's the S, and governance, about, okay, this is a signal that this company does good things. This is a good company. This company, doesn't matter if it's a nonprofit or a profit, it's a good company, and we give you the ESG symbol. I mean the B Corp symbol, and then you display it proudly. And everybody wants to go after it. They really do. Not everybody makes it, but it's a hot thing in this world, and it's in the world. Well, okay, in like the 90s, it's like, what, where does this come from, this B Corp thing? People think it's government. They think it's a formality of, like a 501c3. It's not.
Yeah, like it's a type of corporate. Yeah, like a.
It's a nonprofit, but three guys sold their business in the 90s. They had a basketball, fashion and shoe business, and they sold it and made a bunch of money. And when the new owners took over, all the good stuff that they did that related to sustainability, hiring women, giving time off for parenthood, all that good stuff went away. And they went, oh my God, it's all gone. Everything that we did that was good was all gone. 3 people got together and built what is now known as B Corp. So let's just say everybody here who's listening gets together, and hopefully there's that $1 billion lottery winner in here, because it'd make it a lot easier.
Or after taxes, they're like 900 million, but still 900 million. You could do a lot of good there.
2 billion equals 900 million.
You could at least spend $10 a year on the environment.
So we all get together and we do an E Corp. And the E Corp is basically an organization that you apply to like a B Corp. But when you buy into it, and you still have to qualify, but you're going to buy into this to belong. It's not just going to be given to you without any contribution. Okay. Let's just say you're a bar. We talked about drinking. Let's just say you're a bar or a restaurant, and you proudly put the E Corp logo on your door, just like they do when you belong to the Chamber of Commerce. They proudly put the E Corp on their door, or they put a sign even outside in the ground that says Certified E Corp. The E Corp means that as an organization, as a business, you commit to put X amount of dollars into this fund every year. It also means that you hold events that are subsidized basically to make more money. So let's just say it was a pub crawl, but instead of the St. Patrick's Day pub crawl, it's an E-Corp pub crawl. It's still a pub crawl, and this organization gets liquor companies, beer companies, for like one day. You pay a cover at the door, $10. It's all you can drink. You go to the next one, you pay another cover at the door, $10. Do you know how much money we would generate from this E-Corp? Mm-hmm. It would be trillions and trillions of dollars. And you could also just send your $10 in to be a part of it. Now, okay, what do we do with that trillions and trillions of dollars? Well, there are a whole lot of companies that are trying to solve in their own way the climate crisis. Tons of companies. See them all the time. It's like you can have asphalt that generates electricity, so cars run on it and generate electricity, and they actually charge the batteries that are in the electric cars. All of this stuff is amazing. You don't need plastic anymore. There are so many derivatives that have been made. So plastic forks, plastic plates, plastic garbage bags can all be biodegradable. All of that exists.
Yep.
Things that clean up oceans, salt to fresh water systems where you can take salt water and turn it into what is a valuable liquid gold at this point.
Well, desalinization is such.
Yes.
That would solve a lot of water. Water, even though it's around us, is one of the scarcest fresh drinking water, meaning it's one of the freshest, it's one of the scarcest assets or items on this planet.
And you have,
in fact, there's investors that are just doubling down, like investors that double down on gold during, an inflationary period. There are a lot of investors that are doubling down on water and trying to hoard it now.
Water rights in California.
Oh yeah.
Huge deal, because if someone is sucking the water out of the deep wells and you're next door and you get none of that water, that's a legal thing that is covered in well, actually, Goliath, the Netflix series Goliath, it's like the 3rd season, they talk all about that. There's another thing that cows, everybody goes cows, they're contributing all the CO2 into the air, right? The methane. Well, there is a fun fact to know and tell. 95, okay, I study up on this stuff for this show. I'm actually like, this is amazing. We have to do this. 95% of a cow's methane comes out of their mouth. It's burps. It's not farts. It's burps. There's a company that has factored, they built a harness that goes on a cow's mouth. They can still eat, but every time it burps, it actually zaps it with some sort of catalyst and it turns it into water. It's like 8% of all the carbon that goes into the air is like from cows. What are we doing? My God.
No, it's so fascinating. You're really talking about creating a massive crowdsourced fund, basically, around and you talk about we talk about market invention in the community. This is definitely a market worth inventing in the community. So let's talk about what that market invention looks like. So how does this so what are the mechanics? What are some of the mechanics? How do you participate? What are some of the what are some of the milestones? Because what we don't want to do with anything is make it the barrier of entry too steep for companies to come in, because
No.
one of the big issues I see with most sort of new ideas or shifts, and certainly the green idea of green market is definitely green technology, and we see it right now, and is that we can't just cut cold turkey and just go all in, right?
No.
Because there is a transition period. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, we would like to accelerate that as fast as possible, of course, but we don't. It's like change management.
Yes.
There's really two types, right, of people that are in change management. There's ones that really lead and bring people along with them, and then there's other individuals that just leave bodies on the street. We can't leave bodies on the street,
No.
right?
No,
So,
we absolutely can't.
and,
And
and,
again,
and
it's the difference between a revenue model and a containment model.
right.
Think of this as an addition rather than a subtraction of anything.
Well, it's fascinating too, because as just play the scenario out.
Mm-hmm.
So, a member of E Corp, say I am a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are in my restaurant serves steaks.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And it is probably not the most energy efficient. I try to be energy efficient because I want to bring down lower my energy bills, because a lot of restaurants are really struggling with energy bills right now, especially in Europe. So say, I take 5% of all my profit goes into this e-corporation fund, which funds now would be really interesting to be able to vote or direct, because the governance of this, it's like one of the biggest challenges with anything. It's like, how do we make it decentralized, even though the buying power is centralized, if that makes sense? So it's like we're pulling our money together to get critical mass. However, we want it to make the decision. So like for a restaurant, as an example, steaks, they may say, okay, we believe, like, there's a company that does the methane masks for cows. I don't know if that's the term, but we're just going to call them methane masks.
Right.
It's a conversion to water. And we're going to ask an allocation of the fund going that. So it would be really interesting for companies to be able to have a little bit, control over where those funds in an environmental way. So it's like the idea is the ecosystem connects itself. You should be able to find partners that are doing things in this sort of energy efficient way, meaning, or like Philips gets in Philips, I mean the light bulb people,
the light bulb company.
Yeah, so they get in with, say,
Yeah.
LEDs, right? Say they're like LEDs and are E. So then anybody on the E platform, E Corporation might want to partner with them and say, okay, well, we're just going to exclusively purchase our light bulbs from Philips because they are also contributing. And now my revenue, not only is my income 5% of my profit going to this, now also a percentage of my accounts sort of payable, so to speak. So you not only your AR, your accounts receivable is going to this, but your accounts payable is going to, so you start to work within that ecosystem around that shared belief around E, right?
E.
And so then the question is, how do we govern this in a decentralized manner? And you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
This is where blockchain comes in, right? Or Web3, whatever we want to call the term.
Blockchain, decentralized.
Yeah. So then creating a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO, could be the way that this happens. So I'm just throwing out ideas here. Like, we're talking about
that's all we're
brainstorming, right?
Yes.
So imagine you have a centralized, it's decentralized, but a centralized DAO, which is almost like this governance, this technological governance structure that really doesn't have an owner, but it has programs and code, and it tells tokens, and it manages what everything money that comes in, where it goes out, all that stuff is really cool. If you sort of put certain rules in place or ability, the flexibility, like a marketplace even that goes with this. So you could create a whole marketplace where it's like, these are all the partners. And imagine if you created an Amazon, which was the e-marketplace. So you know
Ooh.
what I mean? Like, so you're like, well, we're going to compete against Amazon. So if anybody's looking to take down Amazon, this is the way to do it. Right. So this market
Ooh.
of marketplace allows you to purchase anything within this e-corporation structure. And maybe the DAO helps fund that marketplace and the management of that marketplace too. So, you know what I mean? So it's not only, now you want a high percentage of the money to go back to the environment, but shared marketing, right? If everybody is helping promote this and each other, then you get to a critical mass faster
Critical
as well.
mass. And that's part of the problem. Every client will come in the door and the first thing out of their mouth will say, we need awareness.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, everybody needs awareness. What you really need is understanding, but we're not going to, parse hairs here. But everybody wants awareness. Part of the problem is that rank and file individuals feel out of control. They can't make an impact, and they are not aware. They are not aware of these kinds of businesses who are doing whatever they can to say, look at me, somebody give me some money so I can create awareness, and I can scale production, and I can bring this to the world. Scaling production, creating awareness, growing a company is tough stuff. It is really, really hard to do.
Well,
and you need money. Money.
Well, and maybe part of the e-corporation is a categorization, because like the environment, that's a big topic, right? There's so many ways to impact the environment, right?
And if you look at environment, there's kind of two categories of it. There's like cleaning up the earth, cleaning it up, and then there's reducing carbon emissions.
Yep.
I would argue that the carbon emissions is a hotter topic, no pun intended.
Well, that's the root cause in many ways, right? It's like,
yeah, you got to do both.
Yeah. Wait, who's creating the trash is where you want to start. So then I guess the other question is, okay, so within subcategories, like, for me, there's lots of things around the environment, but certainly one is protecting our fisheries, right?
Yes. It's a food source.
And say you're in Orvis, which a percentage of theirs, I believe, goes to
something. Yeah.
I'm forgetting the name of the organization, but it's basically the trout fishing organization that helps protect waterways, and there's education and stuff that they do, it's a great organization. So then thinking about that, then so it's interesting, because then it's like, as a consumer or the business itself, how do you direct the funds and have an impact on where the funds and the impact of it? So it's like democratization of this. Yes. So like, because what we don't want is more central planning that we know best for everybody. No, we want people to be able to be inspired and feel like they have a direct impact right away with every transaction. So like
with every transaction, they help.
So then it's like a combination of like the taxonomy of the environment, basically. What are the initiatives that are all important? And then even in that DAO, or that portal, so to speak, that digital portal, is that you could almost see a dashboard of where money is going to, and then the companies and groupings and companies in those different categories. So it's like, when I buy, say, a Subaru, the Subaru is, although it's ironic because it's fossil fuels, they still haven't figured out the whole electric thing.
Well, I was always wondering about that. Shouldn't they have been the first electric car?
Yeah, they probably should be. They're not really truly living their values, in my humble opinion.
They give a lot of money away, but
yeah, sure. But like, start with eat your own dog food, right? So start with yourself. Just like as your own consciousness journey, if you want to change the world, you change yourself first, right? And
Yes. Yes.
so let's say they figured out this whole fossil fuels emissions thing, and maybe that's what they say. It's like, well, we are not the best. We are. So we got here. Hold on one second. Let me just show
Does somebody
this.
have a question?
Yeah,
Lay off the Subaru people.
yeah. Hey, Alex is making a point here, laying off the Subaru people. We love our Subaru people. We love Subaru. We're just
We're hoping Subaru sponsors this show. Yes. Subaru, where are you?
So as we think about this, it's just a matter of like the perspective and keeping people honest and with authentic and with integrity. I don't think you can talk outside both sides of your mouth anymore. I mean, we'll definitely should talk about greenwashing.
Right.
Not yet, because we still got to talk about this, but
yes, but greenwashing is an outcrop of people trying to get on a bandwagon who are not authentic about it. And the first thing that a contrarian will say is like, well, this is just graft. When you have $3 trillion in the pot every year, the graft that will happen will just be horrible. And it's like, well, all right, you red team the graft, you figure out how not to have graft. And the DAO is a part of that because of the decentralization. Now, is there a corporate governing body that vets all the companies that can get these grants? And again, they are grants. They are not borrowed money that they have to pay interest on to a VC or to a bank. They're grants.
Well, so let's talk about that from the government side, right? So the government is spending our money, debasing our wealth. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a good cause. Focus on green energy. You talked about roughly 45 billion, a 60% increase. I think that's going to increase even further. This actually stops the need for debasing our dollar for energy, doesn't this? Because now so we talked about this. So consumerism, like so many people will say the downfall of the United States is that in this new model of karmic capitalism, consumerism can't survive, right? Meaning that you move beyond the need of and want of these things like watches or handbags or whatever.
That's true.
I have a different viewpoint, right? And you said
it reallocates money.
Yeah, this allows
reallocated all the time.
So ironically, the same thing that people are saying, and this is actually what most people. So I'll step back. People will say, "Oh, it's going to be the end of the world. It's the end of the world," and then some breakthrough happens and turns the thing that they thought was going to cause it, actually flips it, and it changes everything. And we're like, "Oh, we were totally wrong because we never saw this innovation coming."
Right
now. This innovation that we're talking from a business model, or community, or market ecosystem around environmentalism or being advocates of our earth, our home, which I don't think it's an activist type of perspective. You should take care of your house, right? And
right.
We live
it's
here.
Not activism. It's reality.
It's practice. It's being practical. It's like, anyways, so
clean water.
So when we think about that, it's really cool that we don't need to rely on the government to save us. And
it is really
that
cool.
means that we, through consumerism, ironically, we have a way to save the planet through our own consumer. The same thing that would many ways put us in this problem is going to be the same thing that will get us out of this problem.
It's hitting you now, Adam. It's hitting you now. It's starting to make sense. Yeah.
So
Adam didn't know about this. We
talked about it from a topic, of course, and what we're going to cover. But and I've done research as well as Denise, but we haven't had this conversation because we wanted to keep this open, raw, and authentic with you guys listening. So then, basically, by potentially buying a Twinkie, I'm potentially saving a baby duck.
Yes. Awesome. You are. Or,
or if I order duck in a restaurant, like there's this used to be this awesome French restaurant here in the DC area, La Canard, which was about, one of their things is La Canard, the duck, right? Or La Canard, La Orange. And I apologize for anyone who can speak fluent French. I apologize for butchering your wonderful language, but orange duck is a very popular dish. So imagine if you're buying an orange duck, but you're also with that percentage of that bill is also paying for more ducks and more homes and more for the species to increase. So you could actually save by so just play this out. Eating endangered species to save endangered species. I'm just going to go there. Maybe that's the dark side of this, but that's the dark side. But it's like, oh, can I, what else? Pandas. Pandas are tasty. Can we save more pandas?
Now you like,
I'm just joking, but I just
line out into the universe, but you just crossed it with the panda stuff.
Well, it's just the irony in this is
the
that
irony is spectacular.
It's great. Yeah. So
the irony is spectacular. And it's so, the knock on consumerism has been so strong for so long, but we still consume. And, I'm one of those consumers. I'm not living like a monk. I'm buying things that I don't want.
I mean, yeah, and we're more minimalist than most people too.
Actually, we are. Yes, yeah. Actually, we are. But the irony cannot be lost on everyone that the one thing that the entire world looks at the United States for that they don't like. It's like, you people are just consumers. You walk in a grocery store, there's 10 different, brands of sardines, and what kind of opulence is this when we can go over? Okay, well, what if that saves the world? That'd be pretty cool.
And the universe's abundance is abundance, and it is variety. So, having variety and choice and options and all these wonderful things that we could buy, support, whatever, you're doing two things, right? First, you're living your true, your truth as far as the universe is abundance, and having diversity and abundance is part of it. But the other part is there's a person on the other side of that product.
There are lots of people on the other side,
that's their livelihood. That's their passion. That's their craft. So you're allowing, by buying something, consumerism in many ways is allowing somebody else to follow their dream or passion. So it's actually a beautiful thing.
And it's also, when you think about the stabilization of the economy, you could also talk about the wealth gap. And we've been talking about the wealth gap for a couple of days, and how the middle class is screwed, and it keeps going down. And we're creating an unsustainable economic model, both for taxes and just for people surviving. All right, what if, because all these other things are happening, because there are people who are creating business that impacts and helps the world, because there's and I hate to use the word trickle down because that was voodoo, but because there's an impact on all forms of society, is there a way we can pay teachers $100,000 a year to start? Is there a way that we can start raising, because you're not spending money on something else, because these are actually grants. There is no one making money off of the transactions. Can we find a way to reallocate money so there's parity in purpose? And if people can make more money, they'll also throw more money into the economy and into taxes. And that's the whole centerpiece of what capitalism was supposed to do. Capitalism was supposed to fund revenue for everyone because we all benefited. And
Mhm.
that's not what happened. So is this not a correction to that?
It is, and there's so many nuances we could go down the
Mhm.
path on this. I mean, and it's not just. I mean, I think even broader from an E corporation. There's a B corp, an E corp, but couldn't there be a type of corporation per market belief system, a
Sure.
grouping of companies?
It's basically putting a badge on, it's a sticker, it's a logo. That's all a B Corp is. It's like, do I qualify for this logo? Yes. The logo gives me awareness that I didn't have, and it announces my principles. Sure.
Well, in the B Corp, the big gap in the B Corp, from my observation on it, is it doesn't stimulate the community to work together.
No, I agree with that. There's
And that's
no
the real
catalyst.
miss
Yeah.
of it. That's the huge potential, because it's not to say, it's not to be exclusive or dividing people of like, well, you're either an E Corp or you're just a loser or something that doesn't care about the planet. And that, that's shame, and that's a low
Right.
vibration. But I think for people that are real passionate about it and want to make a difference, I mean, I think that transparency and feeling good makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think, you know, one of the biggest challenges with any sort of not-for-profit or philanthropic organization is, where does the money go?
Mhm.
And what kind of impact are you doing, or is it politicized, what have you? And you have to spend, it's not like you're just naturally doing it. You have to spend additional money to donate, right? Which is good. I mean, donation,
Yeah,
money
money.
flows, money comes in. You just got
Yes.
to be, uh,
Yes.
give more than you receive, and you will receive more than you need, always, that kind of thing. Uh, but I think this puts it into the actual model itself and allows people to contribute without having to put more into it. Because let's be honest,
It's
the
not
US dollar, I mean, we talk about this all the time, Denise. Our wealth has significantly deteriorated.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if I can throw a slide up here or not. I
You
don't think I
can, the
have it with me.
value of the dollar.
The
Yeah.
value of the dollar since
Purchasing power.
is drastically dropped. I mean, we're less than 5 cents on the dollar, and it's of what its value should be at this point, at any one
Or
point.
used to be. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's why people can look back and say it was very different in, 1960, because actually your dollar bought a lot more than it buys now.
Mhm.
And that's just
And what
data.
makes all of this, government led uh, change unsustainable, is because all it is doing is just, you get one political side of the organization or the other to decide, and they're both as bad, by the way.
They're
And
both angry, and they
it,
have to both be polarized
yeah,
now. And
but I just mean that it's, oh, we'll solve it, again, looking for the government to solve your problems. And it is always this case, Republican or Democrat, it doesn't really matter. um and in that process, what they're doing is they are spending our wealth on our behalf, so we have little to no control over it, honestly. And it's just making us poorer and poorer and poorer, so that, and the point is it's unsustainable. We're not going to be able to support the things that we need to do, and so it's taking away our ability, our future selves wealth, and our ability to invest in things that we need to. And it's very arrogant and naive for anybody in a centralized position to say that they know better than anybody at the ground level. So this
Mhm.
allows the
Mhm.
ground level to participate, direct, decide in a way that free market economy was always meant to be,
Always meant to be.
and why it's always as long as we got money and we got economics, free market always is the better way because it corrects itself in everything else.
Yeah. And the idea of transaction is really important. I always used to say, like, when you look back at the civil rights movement of the 1960s, had they had FUBU and had they had some sort of corresponding brand that others besides African Americans could buy, that they could wear to support the initiative. If everyone was wearing shirts, now this sounds preposterous, but if everyone were wearing shirts and could identify by transaction, because if you get something for free, nobody reads a free newspaper. You have to have some sort of monetary transaction to
that value. There needs to be that sense of value and that commitment, like an event. If it's a free event, people don't show up. But when you charge them, people show up.
Yeah, people show up. And actually it goes to like a virtuoso violinist could go in the subway and put their jar out and do a concert and nobody will give them any money, even though the guy's in Carnegie Hall. I mean, so you have to have a transaction as a commitment, it's almost a neurology commitment. It's a neuro thing to say, I'm here. I'm with this. I value this. This is important to me, and I'm going to align.
Well, and the best part about all of this is, even though we're talking about some ways segregating types of corporations that are either environmental friendly or not, which fine. I think everybody should be a bit of an E Corp, right? Or B Corp.
Yeah.
But I think the other part is it is far more inclusive than what we have today, right?
And there if this is done right, there will be a supply and demand pressure on those organizations who cannot qualify for the E Corp or do not choose to participate. And I'm banking on more people will want to do this than not when I say that, because there will be naysayers. There will be people that say this is just another bullshit thing, and there will be, and they can have their own ecosystem.
But isn't that the free market, though?
That's the free market.
And then they may last, they may win, or they may not, but the market will decide, right?
Yep. That's the free market. And
the free market is driven by consciousness. So everybody understands that, because consciousness drives everything. And you're listening to Consciousness Incorporated, which it is incorporated to everything, whether you realize it or not. It's really a cool discussion. I mean, you think about it from an R&D perspective, and what you're talking about in doing this right, and B Corp did a lot of things right, but it wasn't created before Web3 was around. It's not really technologically
correct. It's old school.
It's not. It's a certification, but it does not create an interactive community base. There isn't. I can't just go to a list and start buying from a B. I mean, you really start to think about it as a shared collective organism, as like a big company, right? A big shared company with tons of different variations, right?
Variations, and everybody in it is a stakeholder.
Yep. And everybody in it is participating and getting a value from it. You get companies that are benefiting from an R&D perspective. It's funny.
And scale and awareness.
Well, and what it does is it really suddenly makes these large institutions that are trying to push their agenda or their lens through through the environment, whatever it is, just say like a Greenpeace perspective. Now they're competing with an E corporation, a group of people for the same dollars, and maybe they aren't competing. Competition again is a scarcity mindset. But they have an opportunity to partner with that. And it's just funny because the political I guess one of the things that you would have to work out is the politicizing of it, because there's going to be personal agendas, unfortunately, in this, and there's going to be some way of, there's going to be some form of corruption, because certain individuals that are there's going to be people rushing into this because they think they're going to make a ton of money, and that's what they're doing it for. And so let's go into greenwashing, talking about that.
Oh, perfect segue into greenwashing.
So there's going to be greenwashing companies, and I wouldn't. Sorry, Alex, I'm not going to say Subaru's a greenwashing company, but
they give a lot of money away.
They do give a lot of money away. They do.
And frankly, they are about love and giving money away. They are not about environmental.
Totally
stuff.
True. That's fair. So that's their market.
You're right. It's calling them environmental thing, and those are different companies.
Fair enough. They did go down that road for a while.
Not anymore. I mean, they give money to the Humane Society.
They can
America.
They can retypecast themselves. They can rebrand themselves like that. So, but let's talk about it. I mean, because greenwashing is a real thing. You see it, and I look at greenwashing as more of just a broad generic term. And real quickly, yes, they were. Subaru was out there with environmental message before Patagonia.
I don't know. I mean, are you looking up the dates for that?
Somebody can fact check that. I'm trusting Alex. We'll just trust her. Somebody else can fact check it later or now. But I think there's tons of examples of greenwashing companies. I've talked about these, and greenwashing is a generic term, meaning I'm using this to my advantage, but I really don't believe in this, and I'm using this only to get a financial gain, not because I'm really trying to impact this, right? So let's call out a couple greenwashing companies. Why don't we? Well, I won't call out this investment bank, but or this private equity company that I talked to, but they were greenwashing around inclusion and diversity. They, and the point of, they only want to invest in inclusion and diversity based businesses when they have a financial edge because of their inclusion and diversity. And to me, you could argue like, well, Adam, that just makes business sense. But for me, you should just be investing in inclusion and diversity companies. And that's the purpose, right? That's the point.
That's the point of investing in the company.
And inclusion and diversity is a temporary thing. I mean, not saying that inclusion and diversity is not temporary, but this trend, because eventually we will not have to worry about inclusion and diversity.
Be diverse.
So you know what I mean? Like environmentalism, like we're always should be taking care of our climate, right?
Right. None of this is stuff that should be like unusual.
But I am a continuous optimist. I'd like to think I'm a practical optimist, but I will say that eventually, I know this, there's a knowing here, just like anything, like LGBTQ, all that stuff will not be a thing in the future, meaning there will be, we won't think about it because it'll just be natural, right? It will just be like, of course, oh sure, of course you do, because on the other side of this veil, as we understand this more in this existence and this temporary reality, is souls are not very, I mean, they're not polarized to a feminine or masculine energy. They love all. It's all love and love all. So that kind of makes more sense in an LGBTQ perspective, that people like boys or men and women. I already say boys and girls, but I meant men and women. So you like men and women, and that's totally acceptable. Like, and that's diverse, and that's actually probably more natural than not, right? So
I just historical too.
Yeah, but I just mean when we get down the road, it's like slavery used to be a thing. We're still getting through, unfortunately.
And it's still a thing, unfortunately. And it's a bad thing. It's still there. It's just hidden differently.
It is hidden. It is.
And frankly, I said this to somebody else. I did. There are very few P&Ls of really, really profitable companies that don't factor what is essentially slavery in it. The P&Ls are like, I can't make this work if I pay people $15 an hour. It's like, that's just bullshit.
Yeah.
to me, because then you have to modify your P&L, and they hold on to that as a variable that, well, this won't work. Nothing will work. I have to have a continuation of this variable. And no, you don't. But
yeah, it sounds like you got to change the business model.
Yeah, then you change the business model and everything will be fine.
So
greenwashing. We're going back.
So yeah, greenwashing. So I'll throw this one out there.
You're gonna throw this
I like
thing
top
out.
of the list, top of mind. I when they changed it, I was like, oh, come on. British Petroleum.
Oh.
It is. They're one of the original OGs, and they used to compete, I believe, fact check me, against Standard Oil, Rockefeller's companies. And so they were the British version of competing. Yeah. And there's a good book, Taking Down Rockefeller. Mm-hmm. It shows the incompetence of centralized planning and government, because when they made him break up all the Standard Oil and decentralize and create all the companies like ExxonMobil. By the way, ExxonMobil are back together, but all the New Jersey Standard Oil, all these different Standard Oil companies, it made Rockefeller 10 times more wealthy, because now he had the same amount of shares, but multiplied with all the companies and those valuations. It's so stupid. So anyways, greenwashing. So BP shifted their name several years ago from being British Petroleum to Beyond Petroleum. And I get it. You want to try to get us future and everything else, but they kind of just swept their past under the rug, and almost like, oh, we don't want to be anything related to oil and gas. And they are, I got to look at their numbers, but I'm pretty sure their core business is still fossil fuels.
Yeah, it's still fossil fuel.
So they're going out in the market saying, oh, we're beyond petroleum. We're beyond petroleum. Show me.
Well, that's just the kind of work that we are often charged to do.
Yeah,
and
I get it.
And
they paid their marketing agency a ton of money, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's really hard, as an agency, you have to do a little due diligence, in the sense that, okay, I can help you. Is this real though? Is what you're telling me real? Because clients tell you facts that you're supposed to believe that end up being completely wrong. And they tell you motivations that happen to be completely wrong. And you're given these variables, and you do the best job that you can, and then you realize that they lied. So it's a hard thing for agencies to do, but that's the kind of work that we do, is we pivot people to give them a platform that they can continue to grow on, especially when their platforms decay and turn.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe greenwashing isn't even the right term. Gaslighting, the old gaslighting term.
That's a better term.
I mean, that's really what we're talking about. So I know you have some great examples. Let's talk about
my favorite. It's like people go, are you a shill for Patagonia? Yes, I am. I am a shill for Patagonia, because if you look at what they do and the impact that they've had, and then you look at North Face, it's the same clothes. In fact, you can put them side by side and not tell the difference, except for a logo.
Yes.
It's the same clothes. It's the same kind of similar manufacturing, but they say they give away all this money. They have all these promotions about how much money they're giving away. And if you really read between the lines, and then you actually go do some little research, which takes you about 5 minutes, you'll realize that the amount of money that they gave away from these big promotions was like not so much, because of the manner in which they talked about the promotion and said, and just for everyone's, like, revenue is very different than profit. Like, they say we're giving X amount of our profits for this Thanksgiving promotion away. Well, that's not a lot of money. If they say we're giving X amount of revenue away, like Jersey Mike's is doing, I mean, Jersey Mike's gives revenue away for like a couple times a year, and that revenue for those 2 days that you can buy a sub sandwich, and that revenue goes to the Hunger Task Force or Beating Hunger or all the national hunger organizations. And it ends up being millions and millions and millions of dollars. So when a small margin company says, I'm going to give this much of my profits away, it's like, hey, that ain't nothing. Buyer beware on, I'm going to support that because they're giving away percentages of their profit. And I get that. I totally get it. But you have to understand how much profit is being made by an organization. And if they start declaring that stuff, they're kind of bogus.
Well, I mean, in North Face, as far as you look at the fundamentals of the business, like you said, just in general, North Face and Patagonia, I think their revenue is close to around the same, but the profit for Patagonia is almost double what North Face is. And
they give it all away.
And they give it, then they give that all away. And where North Face is a premium brand, they don't have the same amount of profitability. And we're talking, I mean, it's 100 times difference almost between North Face and Patagonia and what they give away. And it's funny, North Face talks about, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this. But really compared to their peer, it's a joke. They might as well be clubbing baby seals, Yes, I mean,
absolutely. It is a joke. And the idea of profit too, and everybody who's in business knows that, how the concept of profit can be manipulated, like because an expense is also a balloon payment to your CEO. That would be an expense that can be deducted prior to profit. So really, 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 I'm a shill. I'm a shill for Patagonia. Buy Patagonia. Give your North Faces away to homeless people, please.
This episode is sponsored by Patagonia. It's not. It is not.
It's not.
Yeah. But Patagonia, if you'd like to, we'll take your money. No. No, it's super fascinating. And there's so many other companies that are doing this. And because, there's some trend, some article they read, they're seeing Patagonia get covered, and the marketing people are coming in and saying, we need to do this. We need to do this.
Yep, that's exactly right. The marketing people come in. And I just want to say,
it's trendy. Being green is trendy.
It's very trendy. You're on trend.
Yeah, trending in TikTok.
You're riding a surfboard on a mega trend, so you want to do this. The other thing that I'm just going to say this, because I don't know if I have yet in this episode series, when they changed into a foundation and a nonprofit, so much shade was thrown on them by so many people that it's like, oh, they're just avoiding taxes.
Yep.
Well, you know what? If they're avoiding taxes, the earth wins.
Yeah, right.
All the money that they would give to the government is now going to the earth.
Well, and it's funny, those same people that are saying, oh, they're avoiding taxes are the same people a lot of times
avoid taxes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So very cool. So we've got a few more minutes left. This is a fascinating discussion. We could talk hours on this and the E-Corp brainstorm. Great topic. I think it is a huge opportunity. We talk about market ecosystems. This is what we're talking about. This becomes a certification for a market ecosystem and its belief system. Mm-hmm. And fundamentally, when we talk about market ecosystems, it's funny, talking previous episodes about ecosystems, there has to be, it's almost like there needs to be a currency, right? And there needs to be a way to share and spread the wealth and reinvest in itself, in its own community, so everybody benefits. Mm-hmm. And, what we talked about today, the idea of an E-Corp, definitely B Corp, the idea of B Corp is brilliant. And I think it's wonderful. And there are amazing companies that participate in B Corp. Yes. But the B Corp has its limits. It is not a real community. It is more of like a certification, much like a building certification. And That's not a market. That's a label.
Yeah, it's the good housekeeping seal.
Yeah, and where if B Corp people in B Corp are listening to this, they need to start thinking about a market ecosystem and how anybody participating actually shares and starts to work together and I'm sure there's some of that today. I'm sure they do webinars and introduce and all that stuff, I'm sure, but not at this level, meaning there's actually a fund and there's using Web3, a DAO that manages this based on rules and it's
it's
autonomous and it's free from
$1 trillion.
yeah, and $3 trillion. I feel like we're in the Austin Powers and Scotty's telling him, and I will ransom him for $1 million.
Million.
You're like,
What?
Dad, the inflation, $1 million doesn't mean anything anymore. $1 billion, Dad.
No, that doesn't mean
The
anything.
dollar's been debased to 5 cents or a penny on the dollar. That doesn't even really move the needle. $1 trillion. So now we're gonna get, 10 years from now, we're gonna what's after a gazillion? So,
I don't know. I was thinking about that. I don't know what's after it.
Yeah, someone please drop it in. What's after a trillion? Gazillion? What are we talking about? We're gonna be all gazillionaires.
Like a
But yeah, exciting conversation. Love it. Do you want to lead us through? Or you want me to lead us through just a quick meditation?
You do it. I did last.
Okay. So we taught, I don't have a specific meditation for this, but I will lead us through just talking about green and all of this, the environmental things. We can get stressed, right? First thing is there's enough past life regression and future life regression. And the good news is those individuals that do a lot of future life regression analysis, meaning looking forward and backwards, say the earth is still here. So don't freak out. The sky isn't falling. But here's the crazy part. Is it still here if we don't do this? And because we're doing this, it ends up staying here.
Oh my goodness.
So
like
maybe those who are listening to this know that the idea is out there. It does exist. It has happened. And maybe, just maybe, e-corporations is what makes it so that our future selves can actually reincarnate here and our loved ones who are here, because our children and our grandchildren are going to see this in a much more rapid pace. And the other part I want to say is don't go out and start hating people, because that's a low vibration. We still got to love people. We got to love even the individuals that are, fracking and all this other stuff that, are dumping oil into the ocean and trash. And, it's what they know. And we can't expect everybody to change and evolve. And it's not ours to do that, but we can lead by example. And doing this is leading by example and creating a better place, better future. So we're projecting this, our intent. We have created it. It is a timeline now. So just a matter of how it happens will be interesting. We'll let it unfold as the universe does. So with that, I want to just quick meditation. This is just going to be a really good sort of little stress reliever in your day. And I would just say this is just a quick 5-minute thing. If something is stressing you out or you're overwhelmed by something, just take a couple minutes to do this, and you'll find that the breath technique and just clearing your mind just resets you. So everyone can please close your eyes. We're going to do some breaths, and I'll walk you through everything because this is going to be a short one and it'll be an easy one and fun to do. So everyone, please breathe in slowly. Expand those lungs. Get your body full. Breathe in that light. Feel it permeating everything down to your toes. Hold. 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 Now breathe out and release. Slowly. Take your time. And breathe out all of that fear and anxiety and stress and doubt. Now we're going to breathe in the good again and all the positive and the abundance in this universe and the fact that we're going to be okay. We're infinite. Breathe in. Hold. And breathe out all that anxiety, that stress, that bad mojo from the environment, all of that toxicity. Breathe it out. Now we're going to do this a couple more times. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. And feel it. Feel yourself relax. Just let it go. Just try to keep your mind blank as best you can. Now breathe in. Just focus on your breath. Focus on expanding your body with good and light. Hold. And breathe out. Slowly. Get every bit of that anxiety out of you. Now, when you're ready, open your eyes. You know, just a simple breath work can do miracles for yourself and your body and get it out. And when you find yourself in a place of almost just you don't know how to cope, you know, this is a great coping mechanism, and it allows you to reset and get your body and everything in a good alignment. And just remember, this is a temporary experience. We are infinite beings. We are more powerful than we have any idea. And we are master manifestors. So you're here in proof, and that is proof. And this world around us is all proof of that as well. And it's a beautiful planet, and we'll find ways to do our part. So Denise, any last words, and then we'll let everyone go.
Yeah. We talked about a lot today that was odd and weird. And after talking to clients with great ideas for so long, my 2 cents to you is find ways to say yes. Don't find ways to say no, or this is what's wrong with it, or yeah, but find ways to say yes to what you want to manifest. That's my parting thought.
That's great. And let go to the process, because and it's not easy, but you can do it.
You can do it.
I'll do it. If Denise and I can do it, you can do it. So thanks everyone. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.